This session, ladies and gentlemen, because this is talk about the world of VUCA. How can tech business scale? Well, Steve Jobs said, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot mandate productivity. You must provide the tools to let people become their best. To help you become your best, we're going to be inviting the founder and CEO of Purple Quarter, Roopa. Kumar, let's welcome Roopa with a brilliant round of cheer, everybody. Roopa, this goes for you. Thank you and a very, very warm welcome.
Next. Okay. Back and pointer.
Thank you so much. That was really kind, and I need to put up with whatever she just said. First, let's talk about why did I pick up this topic, right? Last week, I think we were a part of the Forbes 30 under 30, and the topic was about Gen Zs, and Gen Zs love anything which is abbreviated, so we just went with the abbreviation VUCA and said we'll talk about this. No, jokes apart, that's not the reason why we picked it. But I'm sure most of you guys sitting here understand what is VUCA. We've been using this in most business settings. And most of you guys are from the HR. I'm sure VUCA plays a very important role considering the current time that we are facing. I was intrigued when we spoke about VUCA because I wanted to know, when did it actually start? When did people actually get to know about VUCA? So most Googlers here, like myself, figured that VUCA was actually introduced right after the World War II. So the World War II actually got up with a lot of these specific, I'll tell you what VUCA stands for, but at the end of the day, that's when it actually all began. A lot of people in the room think of VUCA from a negative perspective. I'd also like to add a zing here and talk about a little bit from a positive angle of how can we consider VUCA and how is VUCA actually applied to technology, today's date and time. And why we're talking about just tech is because that's all we do. We look at technology from a very different dimension, so I'm going to talk about that. So I'm going to jump straight right in. Okay, the first part of VUCA, V stands for volatile. I'm sure we all understand the meaning of volatile. We're talking about instability. We're talking about where one is not aware of what is going to happen. So that's volatile. I'm sure we all remember this demonetization that happened in India. That was one of the favorite parts of thinking about volatility. So how did we all react to it? We were all wondering, how are we even going to go ahead and what are we going to do with the notes that we have at home? Right? Do we have to go back and give it to the banks? Luckily, I was already a digital person, so I didn't have too much of currency at home. But for all those guys who had cash, including some of my friends, they started feeling that how difficult is this going to be to convert to a digital period. From there to now, look where we have come. All the tweets that we have when we visit to the US or when we even go to any part of the world, everyone's talking about UPI. You know, I think we need to give a big round of applause for what fintech's done to this volatility of demonetization. UPI has become a part of our lives, an integral part of our lives. Can you imagine the amount of effort and work that's gone into creating a platform that you and I can use even at the Nariyal Paniwala? Yeah, forget about, we transacting, or the gentleman here spoke about how can we retire effortlessly. Today we can actually go ahead and see a platform. I can use my ICICI digital HDFC platform or any other banking platform to buy my pension funds, look at mutual funds. But I didn't think of Nariyal Paniwala. So that's where, the country's gone to. So the volatility from a personal positive effect is where fintechs actually played a fantastic role. I'm going to move along. I think we spoke about it. Fintech is only not the UPI part that I want to actually talk about. If you look at, it's played a lot of interesting aspects, including something that we discuss on today's date and time. Blockchain has been used for crypto. Crypto is still something that we are all sitting and saying, hey, it's volatile right now. One doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow with crypto as well. So I'm just going to leave it at that because currently it's still in the stage of negative side of being volatile. But one doesn't know if it'll move to the positive side as well. But I'm quite keen on seeing how blockchain is going to do, which actually was put into effect for crypto, but blockchain can be used for multiple other aspects as well. The second part is, of course, uncertain. We were unclear of the future. My friends, I'm sorry, I'm going to remind you of what happened 3 years ago. Was it 3 years? Was it 2 years? I have a faded memory whenever I talk about the pandemic. Yeah, we were all sitting in our houses, didn't know what we were doing, didn't know if we'll be alive the next month. To be honest with you, the most uncertain period of all our lives. And for once, we can come together, not just as a country, but across the world and say that everyone was sitting tight, not knowing what's going to happen. Unfortunately, there was no means of finding out a process for someone to say, hey, this is what you need to do. Nobody told us that. We didn't have a yardstick. It wasn't a market turbulence. It wasn't a war. It wasn't a political disarray. It was something that we didn't understand, right? So extremely difficult situation, extremely uncertain. And what came out of it was very interesting. We sat in our homes and used audio, video, software solutions and interacted with any part of the world and continued as if nothing had really happened. A huge shout out to all those technologists who created this, because today as well, hybrid work environment is celebrated like nobody's business. Though I don't personally vouch for it, because most people at Purple Quarter still come to the office. But at the end of the day, hybrid has really, really been celebrated thanks to how technology has empowered most of us. The other piece that did stem out of this whole thing was for a lot of kids who couldn't go to school. So how the online education really came up and, people started learning right at home. Imagine if kids they had to lose 2 or 3 years of their education. It would have been disastrous, because at the end of the day, everything's moving at such a quick pace. It would have been very difficult for kids to also see what would have happened. Of course, social part did get affected, but the learning didn't. Right? So they learned not just about how to sit at home, and EdTech came out of it, but they also learned a lot about technology. I'm not so sure parents here are truly happy about the amount of technology they've learned, but I would definitely say there are positive sides to how this went about as well. Moving along, we spoke about volatile and uncertain. Complex creates a lot of chaos, confusion in your mind, and you're wondering what is happening? Why is there so much? Just before, we had two of these wonderful people talking about all the complex situations. I'll take one, for example, insurance. Back in the days, insurance was very hard to get a claim, to get it processed, to understand the whole piece of, hey, what do I need to do to make sure that I have my life insurance in place, my health insurance in place, my auto insurance in place. Super complex. Forget about that. Think about loans. Right? So technically we used to say, it's going to take me at least 15 days more to get that loan processed. Whether I'm going to get that or not, nobody is aware. So digitally, nobody was even aware if you're going to have that loan processed by the bank. We were at the mercy of that loan processing officer who would tell us whether we're getting that loan and we're buying that house, or we're buying that two-wheeler or four-wheeler or the property that we have in mind. Now, how did that all change? InsurTech and lending. These are two important pieces that came out of confusion, complex platform. I'm moving along. Ambiguity. Ambiguity is the last part of VUCA. One lacks clarity. So this becomes the essence in most of our worlds. If we don't have clarity, that's the time that we don't understand what's happening. So if I'd started this discussion without telling you why VUCA and what we're going to do about it, it would have been extremely confusing. You'd be wondering, what am I talking about? So clarity is one important piece that really drives the world, and how are we actually dealing for it? I still don't agree that supply chains completely solved for, but to the level at which it was till what it is today, it's definitely solved for quite a bit. We all come from different parts of the world. I'm sure we understand PIN codes, we understand how maps work. Do we even know the amount of PIN codes which actually don't exist? None of us do. Logistics company and supply chain have actually gone ahead and done that. You've got your Amazon deliveries in Gangtok, which was not happening before, right? Pardon me if there are other e-commerce players here. I'm sure that, even you guys are delivering it to multiple other parts of the world. So what's our take on VUCA? So we started off with all of this, the volatile, the uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment when we started Purple Quarter as well. I'm just going to take a dig into it because of the fact that technology leadership was not easy. Most CEOs are the front runners. You've got your CTOs who are your backseat drivers who are driving all of this technology platform. And that is exactly what we've managed to do from a purple quarters per se. But why we're even talking about this in today's date and time is because of the fact that VUCA is something that delivered a lot of companies, a lot of startups, a lot of new innovations to come to the foray. So our take is most of the companies that are here should invest a lot in innovation, should look at how can we empower. HR folks here think about how digitally we can empower whatever we do in our daily lives. And why is it relevant? Why is it important? It's important for one important fact, that it will give rise to a lot of clarity in our lives. We'll end up doing better jobs, and we'll end up looking at knowledge, which is probably right now we're doing a lot more data entry in certain parts of the roles that we do. We'll actually move on to doing better jobs, and we'll have the most of the data entry jobs automated. So our take is we'll have to look at it more digitally, and digital world will yield from VUCA. So we want to see a positive side to VUCA. Yeah.
Sometimes you only get one chance. One chance to hit the target. To make the right choice that will help you cross milestones. Sometimes you only get one chance to choose the perfect leader to achieve phenomenal success. And you can't go wrong. Purple Quarter, a bespoke CTO search firm, helps you zero in on the perfect tech head. We match the DNA of your organization to find a leader with a tech vision that fits your business vision. Our proven 83-plus behavioral metrics model helps us find the right talent from across the globe. Do you want to hit the bullseye and find the perfect CTO? Your search ends here.
Well, that was nicely slipping it in, so you know what we do. But the whole piece that we wanted to actually capture here was the 83-plus behavioral metrics model, which is the method that we've managed to put into the madness of search, the technology search. And that is why we picked the topic VUCA, because we wanted to say that we realized that we needed to put a process in place, and that's how that we've come out with this concept. This video was supposed to play first, but I wanted it to come in here so that you realize that that's what we've actually done. I'd love to take questions if you have any. I've got 4 minutes left. Yes, please. Is there a mic that we can hand out?
Yes, we're going to just get it passed. Okay.
All right, so my question is that VUCA is always positioned as new normal. Mm-hmm. And then we say that we should get accustomed to the VUCA circumstances. If it is volatile, accept it. If it is uncertain, accept it. If it is complex, accept it. And if it is ambiguous, accept it and mold yourself. That is one part. But my worry is, and my question is, what are we doing in the direction of the causes of VUCA? And how do we lower it so that VUCA circumstances gets lowered? Maybe that's a question.
That's a lovely question. So think of it this way that, sir, when I didn't get your name though.
Gurvinder.
Gurvinder.
Yeah.
So Gurvinder, if you ever were to think of life, right, your chart's never going to be a straight line. You're always going to see the chart moving up and down. So, to predict that you won't have any volatility, there's going to be no uncertainty, no ambiguity, it's not going to happen. And the biggest learning that we've had in our life was during pandemic. And the second learning we have is the current market turbulence. We're calling it the global winter. But if I were to put this question across to you, and I've been battling it in my head, is we are having the recession or so-called recession at least once a decade. Why haven't we written a playbook about it? We can't, because every new one that comes in has a different idiom attached to it. If I were to look at, the last one, it was more to do with subprime. The one before that was the .com, right? You can't really draw a predictability there. There is no model that you can prescribe, that you can say that, hey, let's get rid of it. We can definitely accept it, we can learn from it and make sure that we don't have these ones for later. I absolutely agree with you. Maybe write a playbook about that. But can we not have any of this? It's not possible. That's my opinion, honestly.
Yeah, good evening.
Evening.
We are part of VUCA as a world, because there are many factors which are beyond our control. So you have to accept that the continuity will be there. I simply put it, you can, you defined VUCA, what it is. So my take is that, all your actions should create value for the customer, which says we. You must use technology, to take care of the uncertainties, and always keep customer first, which says C, so that you be in the race for long run, and always be agile, so that you take care of all the complexities. Thank you.
Completely agree with you. Thank you so much. Do we have questions?
Hi, Roopa.
Hi.
I'm Nimi, and I'm from IndusInd Bank, and I manage IT. What you showed and what you spoke was very interesting. So I'd like to understand how is Purple Quarter a differentiator from the others in the similar lines of behavioral metrics and understanding. How would you say that you are a differentiator, and why should we look at your services in the VUCA space?
Trust me, I didn't tell her to ask me this question, but thank you so much. Those 83 parameters are not leadership principles. 65% of it talks about technology agility. So we are actually assessing the technology agility of a leader who will take a role of a CTO, CTPO, head of engineering, VP Eng, director of engineering. So that's all we do. So we're a niche firm that focus only on technology leadership searches and nothing else. We're not like other firms that talk about, I'll get you a CEO and a CPO. We're very clear on what that we bring to the table. The second piece is the behavioral metrics that I just spoke to you about also goes into layers of understanding level 2, level 3 about the person, which also means that social circle, family, because sometimes the roles that you pick up are also decisions that the family makes for you. For example, that if you have to move from Mumbai to Bangalore, you might not want to consider it, or vice versa. You may not want Mumbaiites to move to Gurgaon as well, that doesn't happen either. So though we are part of the same country, these are few things that we actually map. So from a location perspective, we don't just ask what is the location that you prefer. We want to go into, second level or third level, figuring out where is your extended family, where do your kids go, which school do they go to, what do they want to do in life, what about your parents, what about your cousins, what about your social circle, why have you moved from these different organizations? So when we do that pattern search, we realize that most often or not, as human beings, our decisions are predominantly because of historical way of working. One is because we have few values. Second is also because of the environment that we are around, because of belongingness, the Maslow's law that comes into play. So these two are the most important things we look at. So to respond to your question in short, we actually look at a lot more in-depth assessment. So we do 4 rounds of discussions with these technologists. We meet them and we assess them and put them into 3 different categories, which is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Now the interesting part is Brahma is basically a creator. So think of it as a person who will go and join a startup or a company which has a product market idea, but wants to move it to a product market fit. And if it's a Vishnu, we're talking about it's already $1 million company, it wants to become $1 billion company. So this person is solving for scale. Looking at how do I move, since you're from IT, I'm going to use my technology jargon here. So moving from a monolith to a microservices, or if it's a B2B, we're talking about integration. We're talking about data. That's your Vishnu. Shiv is basically a reconstructor. Think of it as a $1 billion company already, which wants to become a multi-billion-dollar company. So these are people who come and don the hats of Shiv and they actually come up with innovation. They think of new things that they can build, like 10 different product market platforms, and maybe 10 out of 10, 2 take off. That takes the company north. So that's how we categorize these individuals as Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. I'll park myself, but we'll definitely talk about it, you know. So it becomes slightly more logical than actually saying, hey, great technologist, great company, let's just marry the two off. It's more to do with the right technologist being married to the right company. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're done with the time. Is the lunch already on? I'm sure everyone's hungry.
It's just going to be on.
Thank you so much.